Alrighty, happy Friday, everybody. It is May 17th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened here yesterday. Now, if you guys remember in our news report, we talked about how the market was still looking very strong. However, I had a feeling that a pullback was probably going to happen because for the last 2.5 days, if you look, it was a strong rip out the day before. 2 days before today, it was a strong rip out yesterday, and then we came into the market yesterday morning. And to be honest, even though the market was very strong without major clues for the bears, I was a little bit cautious about hinting at a continued push. And we talked about being surprised by a potential pullback for yesterday's market. So what happened here? Market open, could not get through VWAP for a pretty long time there, so should have been pretty clear that maybe a pullback into our next roadmap level would be a good possibility there. And sure enough, they came down into it, broke it by 2 points, and then went ahead and began what looked to be a continuation to the upside, which was what I told you I was skeptical of, right? So what did we get? We actually got a very typical peak above and fail scenario, right? So we had the major high in the market, which was the overnight high. That was the new all-time high in the market. Price pulled back just a little bit out of the open, came right to the previous daily close, just like it did in the pre-market there, just a minute or two before the open. And then bam, gave us that slightly higher high, which then began the push lower. And that was our peak above and fail pattern. So if you were looking at your higher time frames, remember the market opened and it looked like right here, and then the market opened. So if you were continuing to monitor your higher time frames, when price came up and made this slightly higher high, that's when it became clear that we had one of those beautiful peak above and fail divergence patterns on the higher time frame. So we'll look at that today in our for our members once we move over to that section of the report this morning. But this is what happened. We get our peak above, right? We start to push up to new highs, new all-time high in the market by about, let's see, an hour and a half into the open, and then the whole bottom dropped out and we got the pullback that I was warning you about. And so sure enough, they start to pull back. You get the break below the VWAP, below the previous daily high. You get your crossovers coming down. There's that tag of the 200 as price was starting to show its face and we were pushing to lower lows, right? We broke the morning low, started to push lower. We had the beautiful crossover going on here. Price was obviously getting much below VWAP. And then right there, you got the kiss of the 200 with, again, maybe a point. It maybe went through it by a point and a quarter. And then you got yourself a nice 10-point sell-off, right? So great opportunity there. You could have even argued that, hey, getting short from the 200 here or over here, still very limited risk. And you would have captured the breakdown through VWAP there for the continuation to the downside. Then, of course, wasn't a straight line, didn't just continue going straight down. We did kind of peter out in this pocket for a second, and then at the end of the day came down lower. Now, yesterday was actually a day where we didn't quite have a perfect roadmap level at the high and a perfect roadmap level at the low. We didn't necessarily have the perfect rotations all day, but you can see that obvious holds right off VWAP, obvious holds right off the pullback as we were pulling back here, trying to hold the previous daily high in our holy orange power level, which just so happened to be basically the same level yesterday. And then you can see, obviously, the hold off the back end of the 200 as price started to fail lower. So there were some opportunities in there. And again, fading right out of the open there might have been a pretty smart little thing to do, given I told you I was skeptical of a continued push yesterday. The problem is, if you did short it, probably wanted to take profit at the previous daily close or just in front of it, you only would have gotten 3, 4, 5 points out of it. The actual push, if you shorted the VWAP there, was over 5 points. But like I said, being safe, because we see these textbook holds off our roadmap levels all the time, taking profit right there, you probably would have only grabbed 4.5 points. So that's basically the review here for yesterday. It brings us here into the overnight session from yesterday into the pre-market this morning. And right now we're just kind of chopping around. There's nothing super important here that I'm noticing, right? Nothing super sexy either that has happened. So it's just been a little bit choppy here in the overnight coming into the open. Let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and see what they have to say for this morning.